And Reet, while he does have that legendary charge shotgun, it is definitely not his shotgun of choice. However, he will take the upgrade going through. I will say I feel like the charge shotgun is a little bit more difficult.
I'm a savage. Yeah.
NA West, but right now, Reet, Epic Well, and Arkham are on the outside looking in as the defending champs, Snacky and Fabs, adding in Rex, and then Cyrus, Apophie, and Eclipse have been dominant today.
They really have. They've been putting in work, performance time and again, and game after game. It feels like we're constantly mentioning their names. We're constantly talking about them. And I want to see what the analyst desk has to talk about this time, because we got to throw it back over to them.
You know, Sundown, sometimes Kelly just knows what she's talking about, and right now is one of those times. Of course, Snacky, Rex, Fabs, 14 elimination victory royale. So if you've never seen Fortnite before and you're like, oh, that sounds like a pretty cool number, is that good, Zeke? Yes, the standard is like right around 9 eliminations, right? And especially, and I said this back in NA East, with the caliber of players we're seeing in these lobbies, 14 is extremely hard to do. And these guys made it look effortless, Kelly.
Yeah, it wasn't even like it was towards the end of the game that they grabbed all those eliminations. I think that they had around 4 eliminations around zone 4. So just, again, so consistent throughout the entire game, never having to worry about Storm Surge, never really having to worry about rotating aggressively, because we saw that height take. We're going to look at it again in a second, but 2 VRs now solidifying their spot in first place, but still Poffy, Sizer, and Eclipse, after getting that second place in game number 4, holding strong in second. But Panda, you can see the Shupening is reversing, I guess. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's happening.
We call that a lead.
You know, listen, it's changing, right? This is a new leaderboard that I don't think everybody was expecting going into this, but it's exciting, right? Poffy, Psy, Razor, and Eclipse so close, right? Obviously, you see them stepping up here in day number 1, showing us that they are worthy of that top spot and just barely losing it out here in the final moment. But regardless, right? Obviously, Rex, Fav, Snacky stepping up to the plate. Eliminations, 14 eliminations in that VR alone. I mean, that's dramatic. But again, this is only day 1. There's still day number 2 to play and 2 more games in day number 1 to play. So still a lot to unfold.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Really. Oh, go ahead, Kelly. No, please. After you.
There was a lot going on there, and for me, it was happening around the zone 6, zone 7 when the height was being taken. I believe Epic Whale actually had height, but they were also below Storm Surge, so it was like they were in like a weird position, which gave the opportunity for Rex, Snacky, and Favs here to not just dominate the high ground, but to do it in almost a questionable way, Panda.
Yeah, it definitely was an interesting high take by far, right? You see him obviously set up here. Rex knows what he's doing. Rex doing a really good job here overall of taking that high ground. If it wasn't for what Rex did there and the way that he cranked up and took it, they wouldn't have been able to maintain it. That's the key to holding high ground in a situation like this, is taking it, cranking as high as you can, at least one of the players, and ultimately holding it. But the relentless pressure you see from this team, if they smell blood in the water, they go for it.
And here you have it. You can see Rex up on top, Snacky joining him as well, and Favs all the way at the top. Unfortunately, we weren't able to grab actually the climb that we got to see, because they looked like they did it completely effortlessly. I don't actually understand how no one even tagged them while they did it, because they did it out in the open. Obviously, with Arkram's team having Storm Surge, although they had height, they were in kind of a rough position, so they weren't really able to pay attention to what was going on around them. So map awareness from pretty much everyone else on a bit of a deficit for them, because now we get to see the matchup. And of course, we have to look at the classic matchup. Snacky, Rex, and Fav versus Epic Whale, Arkram, and Reet. The total points, of course, going to the way of Snacky, Rex, and Favs with 2 VRs and 33 eliminations. The average placement, though, as well, is incredible here.
Yeah, I mean, look, any players that can step up to the plate and get a sub 5-0 placement, like, that's just... And again, we saw a game that's on there where they went down fairly early. So it's interesting. This is a huge shakeup on the region, but I'm excited to see how the rest of this unfolds today.
It does feel a little bit like both of these shows are kind of still getting their bearings in these games, right? Like, yes, they're having these big pop-off performances, but it feels almost like kind of like ramshackled together. It's not as clean as I would like to say. But we'll see, man. They still have 2 games left to try and work out all the kinks and come back tomorrow and bring it that much harder. But with only 2 games left to go, how is NA West going to end? How are we going to prepare ourselves for double points tomorrow? Well, that's what we're here to find out. Sundown Clay, over to you.
Thank you so much, Zeke, Kelly, and Panda. And 2 more matches to go. And so far, the defending champs adding Rex has looked like a little bit more beneficial to their group. And we just saw that head-to-head graphic, Clay. Do you feel like that tells the whole story so far?
I feel like it doesn't tell the entire story, but it does paint a nice picture for everybody just joining. If you are, hello, welcome. I hope you're having a great night. Got a couple more games of Fortnite ahead of us, and then we've got 6 more tomorrow, and those 6 are going to be the defining moments of the Grand Royale here, because they're double points. And we stress that so much today. You're going to hear it a lot in these final games, because it just matters that much more. You talked about it being 2/3 of the points, essentially, that are going to come through from tomorrow. And that's a lot of points.
Yeah, it's a big change up from what we typically see in the 12-game format, where if we go back to the last FNCS, Epic Whale, Rex, and Arkham had the most historic day 2 ever. Well, if this is that type of situation, then they would have just utterly destroyed and become the 6X champions. However, that is not the case. You have to be able to play to the format. Here we go, match number 5. It looks like we got about a middling drop path here with the bus. You can see Aster Genshin, Dragon, and Day in top right-hand corner. Bottom right-hand corner, we got Wave, Cool, and Rich Homie Quinn. We're going to take a look at what's going on in that Steamy Stacks fight and see where else some of the contention is happening. In the left-hand side on the map, looks like most of the other trios have found enough space for themselves.
Should be an interesting fight yet again. Oh, and a third party coming in with that suppressed sniper rifle coming through. Is everybody going to land? Are they going to land on top of each other, or are they going to separate per building? And it looks like that's what's going to happen. And no! He was trying to make something happen and could not do it. The angle wasn't there. Combat going to go down to Falconer and 40. They finish that off quickly. And Wave is left without a gun.
Never want to be left without a gun. Always want something to be able to kind of ward off the opponents on the opposite side. And right now you can see Cool trying to get the shots onto Genshin before he's able to get some builds there. And honestly though, that common SMG, you can't really afford to waste shots early on, because if you don't have an entire clip full of it, your elimination potential, even your knock potential, is very low. The thing is not the highest or the best in terms of DPS.
Stalling it out. The thing about Steamy is stalling fights out, right? Unlike any other POI, it stalls your entire, like, I think in any other POI, it'll definitely take effect. But this one, more than any, it stalls your entire game out. Your entire early game comes to a standstill, because this is such a hard POI to fight early game with the ability of the stacks like Astra is doing right now, like Dragon was doing moments ago. It's hard to disengage from here, because if you try to run away, well, they're just gonna fly on top of you. If you try to stay there, well, this is gonna happen.
Yeah, whoever's able to get priority over one of the socks automatically is able to just rain shots down and kind of control the tempo, as you see Glace picking up another Elim up there in the feed. We do see Rich Homie Quinn super low on effective HP. We'll see if Aster Genshin opts to push down. It looks like they're going to try and make a closeout here, deciding that they've isolated 2 of the team members, dropping down the Fireflies as well, but not a ton to really catch on fire in this area, so don't think that's really going to apply the pressure they want. We'll use up the chug splashes on all 3 members, so going to feel good about that, as well as stacking in some additional. The timing a little unfortunate there, as he would have liked to have popped those minis beforehand, but going to get a Firefly right inside that building, and that should equal some pressure.
How much pressure will it make for them, though? Because Wave is looking for an angle on the other side. Saw Asher Genshin there, but can't find anybody else and won't be able to build. Otherwise, they'll know where he is, and that edit will give away the position to get back together. Cool looking to surprise them as well, but again, they just don't have that pressure with. Just look at their loadout, where the zone is pulling as well. This is, again, one of those areas that if you draw this fight out, your entire game will suffer.
And the tough part about this rotation is normally you think, well, whenever we end up leaving, we'll just do a northern rotation. It's the team who leaves first is going to be able to get all the loot along that path. So generally that should be the team who already has map position. And yep, as we see that, the yellow triangles to the bottom right-hand corner, going to hit the stacks and go on that north rotation. Quinn trying to get whatever pressure and shots on him as they can, but nothing really connecting, and they're going to be forced to now disengage.
And they can disengage, but how far do they go? But 40R, Falconer and K-Nox. That replay coming through, that was combat going down earlier. This is seemingly finally going to be their fight here. Someone ended up actually hopping on top of him, almost taking down 2. That was unfortunate. Multiple different replays coming on through. This is Place taking down Wale there. Other elimination going over to them. And we take a little break as we move over to Arkham. Epic Well and Reed, a team that I don't think when Epic Well and Arkham are playing together will ever really be contested here. Even going into the new FNCS competitive seasons.
Yeah, I mean, it's just tough. You don't want to fight this team off the drop. They've been here for so long. They know all the bus paths. When you're put in that situation and you add Reet, the one thing I will say where Reet probably feels like a definitive upgrade over Rex is in that early game fighting, where if you put whatever weapon in his hand, I feel like he's just a little bit scrappier, a little bit more efficient in that regard. I'd argue the efficacy of that swap otherwise. However, I'm sure that's a debate that will settle itself out in time based off of results, etc. And they're trying to get the rotation on, and the real question has been Storm Surge for them largely.
And luckily they've got Arkham all the way up on top of one of these destroyed saucers here, trying to find any tags. But again, they're investing a lot. Luckily there's a lot of bricks, so it's not that big of an issue, but I want to see them be aggressive like they were the game that they ended up picking up so many eliminations. I want to see that again, because we know they're capable of it, but gotta get the right ingredients again. Pepe, Nate, and Lizzie were just trying to hang out. They didn't want any beef with anybody coming through. Move over to Boney, and Boney's interesting because we've seen a lot of Fireflies come through, and this is one of the biggest downsides of Boney. And oh my God, Rex just gets absolutely beamed from a suppressed automatic sniper rifle there.
Yeah, it seems like he was taking shots from multiple angles, and Eclipse actually going to get a confirmation there onto faking Naruse as well. So our second place trio trying to not lag behind, but you talked about Boney Burbs from the pressure down. As we look at a replay, it's Notch getting a fight, trying to get box to box. Hits a great shot through that face stare right there. Able to hit the knock onto Assault. We look at the shakedown and the confirmation. So we swing back on over. Our second place trio was done enough today. Salco also getting picked up. Hey, that's 2 eliminations for them. They're going to close that gap a little bit more.
Hey, and they will definitely take that. They will do it 9 times. I mean, honestly, what, 10 times out of 10? What am I going to say? 9 times? No. Hey, a couple elims here and there. Close that gap. Again, that's the thing. And I said it earlier, is going into tomorrow, if you're not first, your goal is to be as close as humanly possible to first. You want to be 1 point off. Because if you're 1 point off, that means tomorrow, both y'all got to play a whole new set of games. And it's not this, hey, I got to catch up. Hey, we got to try this. We got to do that. It's, hey, we're only 1 point off. That's nothing.
And I really like this little bit of an ambush spot because you're able to get a right hand on top of this rock. And once you're out in the opening, even if you are in a car, you're generally going to be aiming kind of in that divot. So you're able to see the elimination here onto Salco. And that's just some fantastic team fighting.
It really is. And the fact that they're able to get it from that far away, like, that happens very often. Like, team firing that well happens often, but that far away is even rare. So I love to see it. I love to see that they are doing well together, because they're one of those trios as well that has stuck together in some form of the word, whether it be 2 here, 1 there, 1 here, 2 there. They always end up finding their way back together. And now teams that are on completely opposite spectrums of the zone. We've got 1 in zone, 1 in the new zone, and 1's completely out of that new zone. Boney Burbs. It'll be a hard rotate to make. Meanwhile, Epic Whale, Arkham, and Reek can just kind of slide down into their cars and rotate further into the POI where they landed at, while Puffy, Eclipse, and Psyrazor have a trek and a half to make.
Yeah, this is going to be a long rotato for them, but luckily they should just be able to go towards the north, and there's not a whole lot going on there. They talked about how in NA West the matches could slow down a little bit. You're probably wondering, it's like, show us the fights. Well, right now, we've had 2 trios eliminated, and there's still 91 people up, so people haven't really been fighting.
No, this is usually where it happens too, isn't it? 5th game, 2nd zone, almost Storm Surge specials coming in. Everyone seems to just relax, and we'll see a couple reboots here and there. And you can go back and watch any of the FNCSs this season, and you'll notice that same sort of pattern in these final moments where everyone's just chilling, everyone's trying to get in the zone. You see right here being a little bit aggressive, but they're realistically just trying to get in the zone.
And Arkham is separated again. Now, don't forget, last game, he got picked up very early on, and it allowed them to get past the Storm Surge threshold. However, he needs to be able to stall long enough for Epic Whale and Reed to get back over, and he's just going to be ripping shots out there, trying to blow up that vehicle. However, not quite going to get enough, as we do have another trio dropping down here. Hop back on board with Reed, who's just trying to find an angle to lay down some shots. Honestly, wouldn't expect to see him that inactive during this time period, but looks like they're trying to get a bead over towards Believers Beach and able to find some. That's Epic Whale with a 22 tag. Be very interested to see where this warning comes in on the Storm Surge, because there's a lot of people up.
They really are. And I don't know how many of these teams are going to be that safe, right? Even if you're above, there's still that threshold of where you're really safe versus not safe. And so I'm excited to see how many of them are overtly safe, and where we move over to Mystery, Tendra, and Nate. Wait a second, as it'll update here in a moment. They're 214 above, so they're one of those trios that's very safe. They don't have to worry about Surge coming through. Normally, right? That's like when we're at that 75, maybe that 80 threshold. But there's too many players that need to go down, so they're not comfortable just being there.
7 trios out of the 30 who are left are going to be pressured by this Storm Surge, so anticipate a lot of action. Just kind of look around. The teams who are under Storm Surge are going to be forced to threaten, so those teams who are a couple hundred above don't necessarily have to watch them, except for their reactions to the pushes that end up coming out. Much more interested to see what the teams who are below and how they're able to kind of navigate the pressure as it comes through.
295 here for Antrax Notch G5RC. A lot of chug splashes there in the inventory, so even if they were below, they'd be able to survive that onslaught that we know is coming. But I think Frappe, Nate, and Blizzy are below. That's why they're positioning the way that they are. That's why they're looking constantly in those cones. And I'm excited to see what they do if they are below. If they try to go for the pressure and look. Snacky, Favs, and Rex are going to be below for a moment, but I mean, it's them. They're not really going to make up too big of an issue or fuss out of it, as I do see that Blizzy is going to take down G5RC, going to get traded back out, though. And I think that entire trio just went aggressive. They made that play, they made that push, and Favs takes a lot of damage there.
Yeah, Favs taking a ton of damage. Storm Surge hasn't ticked on yet, but we've already had 10 players go down just at the threat of it. And honestly, Mitty doing a lot of work in the feed. We've seen him pick up at least 2. Cuddy's going to find 2 of his own as well. Lime able to find the knock onto J-Fix as Macon. He's also going to get a confirmation over onto Lime. Jay picks up Mystery Rex. So Wavy Jacob will also get a knock onto Nico as Mitty gets his confirmation. And that Storm Surge disappeared instantly. We were straight down to 70 players. Teams had their interaction and they went.
They said, no thank you. I don't want to, I'm not a fan of purple lightning striking me from the sky. I'm good. And they all decided to make this unannounced agreement that we're fighting right now. As soon as there's a threat, we are going to fight. And that's exactly what they ended up doing. Is Epic Whale, Arkham, and Reed. I wouldn't say they're in a bad position because they got this ability to rotate through, but Epic Whale, not as many heals as they normally have, not as many mats as they normally. They still have the minis and the floppers for those storm plays that they all end up doing, but down to 86, 84 builds. I wonder what Arkham and Reed have to offer, but ooh, and then a sundown.
Yeah, they should be able to refarm in the area. The one thing, because we pulled directly back over Believer Beach, you can kind of guess that 4th zone is either going to drop directly on top of the beach itself or over towards that western side. It's not necessarily likely to pull up kind of towards that dock area, so you'll probably see teams cheat kind of towards that southwestern corner. But I love the investment of hard mats in a priority position where you're able to not only see the teams who come over the southern hill, but also if anybody tries to pull off a cheeky reboot, you're right there and able to pounce on them. So I like the positioning right now as we swing back on board. Again, this is our current first place trio, the reigning champs of 33 Snacky and Fabs, adding 100 Thieves Rex to the roster, swapping with the Titans on the other side as Reek goes over. You can see there's a Grand Royale Finals record in the last game of 11 reboots. And don't forget, reboots did get a slight adjustment. I believe it was at the start of this past season where those cards are easier to pick up. You don't actually go over and pick it up, just walk over it. The reboot timer is a little bit faster in terms of how long the van charges, and additionally, you get a little bit longer to get your buddies back up on the feet. The timer went from 3 minutes up to 5 minutes. So while there are some contributing factors, NA West goes to show that, hey, they're still all about keeping everybody up and together, as 11 reboots coming through. And this was that priority position I talked about. Like, they have a great chance of the 4th zone dropping directly on top of their head right now.
Will they get it though? Knowing zones. Oh, great tags from Eclipse. Looking great at that angle as well. The only team, in all honesty, if it pulls anywhere towards them and that team is stuck out there, they're gonna just gatekeep them. It makes perfect sense just to sit there and wait. That team on the island can help as well. That team is in a very unfortunate spot. And well, in the moment they thought, hey, the rotate was good, not the reboot. They've got a reboot, and oh, that makes it even harder for them. That rotate, they thought, hey, yeah, this will be great. We'll get around the other side of the zone. No one will be there, but now everyone's going to be looking. And hold on, wait a minute. Fabs, Snacky, and Rex all going to be on top of each other looking for this extra loot. And they're going to be able to get it relatively unpunished. Snacky did lose a lot of HP, but, I mean, it doesn't matter. Look how many big shields they have on the ground.
Yeah, able to pick up 2 eliminations there, but also saw Epic Whale and Reek getting a pair of their own. Unsure if they were able to resolve that fight and then exit out. We talked about kind of that zone dropping directly on top of Believer Beach towards the western side. So Cyrazer and Co. do have the priority position right on that little outcropping towards the outhand side. They should have high ground for the 5th zone if it doesn't pull out and away from them. In terms of the pull, it's most likely to go towards the southern part, but it could go also due east and west. Very small chance that it ends up going towards the north, but like we said, there's always a chance. As the shots begin spraying out, we hop back on board here. Rex, tons of heals. They're going to look to try and get wall-to-wall here and get a jump on J-Flex, Brian Lokes. They will open it up, but no shots coming through, and unfortunately, it shots the other way. Ooh. As Fabs gets absolutely destroyed. Rex also pushed back near instantly. They're trying to disengage, and Rex not going to be able to create enough distance. Snacky now is all to do for him. That's a huge knock if he's able to push forward, but Flix is trying to get all the way in and get the confirmations. As I say that, Rex ends up going down, and while Snacky was able to get a little bit of pressure, we will see the Storm Surge on the right-hand side. It should update, and they should be okay, but as I say that, yep, there it goes. 205 above, and while they're okay, it's okay in the sense that Storm Surge isn't going to hammer on them, but they have trios on either side, and that's our first place trio going down. Haven't you ever heard of closing the door? Instead of saving a marriage, you opened up an opportunity for the leaderboard to just be kicked wide on open here in match number 5. And Epic Whale, Arkham, and Reed, while they were able to pick up a couple eliminations, none of them were their actual points, right? Thank you for throwing that leaderboard on the left-hand side. That team with 170, they are down, so the shooting could occur right now, Clay.
And it really needs to. And we're harping on it, right? If you go in to tomorrow with a 60-point lead, that's a victory royale. So as long as Rex, Fabs, and Snacky get into that like, again, this is a hypothetical, if they kept going tomorrow and just kept playing the way that they are now, it would be impossible to catch them. So this is a game where the second place team, which you see in the top middle of your screen there, and the team we were just watching, Reed, Arkram, and Epic, well, really need to perform, really need to pop off, and oh, that hurts.
I was about to say, that zone is awful. We pulled directly over on top of the dock, but the rotation for so many of these teams, as you can see, they went with the odds as well. They're like, it has to pull to the south, right? Nope, instead, there's a nice little apartment stack with 3 or 4 trios who already occupy the entirety of that Believers Beach dock, and Epic Whale is actually going to get a knock onto Jagveer as well. Very curious to see if they're still under pressure in that regard. Because Cyrazer, Puffy, and Eclipse, they kind of banked on the zone heading towards this side, and it's nice because you get a free pass to the mid game, but this is now kind of your next check mark, right? This rotation is really tough, and I haven't necessarily seen a launch pad. Boom, there it is. So a high launch pad is going to end up being the answer, and you're really just kind of putting faith in the fact that this team directly across from you either misses their shots or isn't looking, and it looks like the whiffs end up coming through and they get a free rotation. That honestly should have been a lot more difficult, but hey, plenty of space for them.
Exactly, and they have enough mats that this doesn't matter, right? They didn't really have to move. They have 135 here on Cyrazer, so they're good. They have shields as well. 6 plus those 2 extra chug splashes there, now only 1. So down to 7. It's like that never ever happened. Is now Mekta and Flush and Uchiha trying to make something happen there, trying to find their way at the leaderboard. Meanwhile, on the ultimate low of low grounds, we've got Epic Whale, Arkham, and Rex as they now be our main point of view here. Where's the zone gonna go? If it pulls north,
No way.
everybody's gonna have
no way. It
a
literally
fun
like it's
time.
yeah.
And yeah, it can't. The possibilities of it pulling north for that island was like a 0.001% chance, but hey, it was a possibility. But this is great for Arkham, Epic Whale, next. It's going back towards them, their old builds. What can they do with it?
Yeah, trying to find a little bit of space, and we talked about how occupying that space off of the start was very important. We are inside of that second Storm Surge threshold, so 49 players left, nobody taking the 25 damage every 5 seconds. However, we're still outside of the cascading placement points. We still need 2 trios to go down before we start seeing that +1 for each one of the trios to come through. So still plenty of points on the table. We will see the warning on the right-hand side, 28 below, 41 below. We'll see if that ends up updating for them, but given the fact that we saw an update, our second place team is currently below on Storm Surge with a lot of players who need to go down. So it's not just them. There's 7 teams who are currently underneath that pressure, but the number's going to shift to 6 as they jump right on into the boxes here, trying to get as much damage as possible as they're constantly going back and forth. They do have 25 seconds before that damage ends up coming through, but you want to be comfortably above it, because once you're in that 7th zone Storm Surge, it's kind of a little bit too much. And as we talk about a little bit too much, Arkham goes down. Nico picking up the knock there, desperately wants to know what is going on with Reet and Epic Whale. As we see, Arkham has been taken out in that circumstance. We do have Cash up on the high ground trying to range shots below. We will get a zoom out here. We see, yep, Arkham is down. Yet again, it is Epic Whale and Reet as we're into the cascading placement points now. 41 players remaining, 15 trios up on their feet. Kenshi finding a double there. Uchiha and Kytrex both going to get taken down. They are well above Storm Surge, so no necessary threat coming in that regard. I am curious to see if Cyrazer and Coffee were able to figure that one out, but it might not end up having time as they didn't close the back of a tarp. And a great elimination for Epic Whale as he says, let me not make the same mistake, and just chucks a piece of metal out there to cover his Zix. However, dropping down a layer, loses the entirety of his shield. Into the top 15 he goes, and Reet is down not only all of his shield, but all of his HP. He gets ticked over, and the 5 times FNCS champ will left to do it on his own. Trying to find a little bit of room here to occupy, but it's not going to get much. 13 builds left. Does have Fish, does have a medkit if he wants to play just for time as he's into the top 10.
Yeah, he would have had to plan it right then and there. That was his opportunity going back. He's going to go for just the floppers here. He's got time for the medkit as well if he wants to just stay here, wait for the zone to come all the way back over here, and that's exactly what he's going to do. That's why he hopped in the zone for that 1 second to take that tick of zone damage. Is getting ready for it, is going to pop it a little bit too early, stops it, and is going to go back. Should be able to pop that just fine. It's Epic Whale. I have no doubt in my mind he knows how to pop a medkit. We'll have that 1 extra fish to use as well. This buys him just a little time. Didn't get him enough placement points. It didn't get him anything there from when he initially started it there, but we'll get him back into zone. Somebody on the whole other team on the other side, he decides, no, I'm not going to be there. Does layer change beautifully, but 1 build remaining. What can Epic Whale find? Can he stay up? No, the shot's going to come through from the Harpoon. They drop him down. Aiden will be the one to do it, and of course, Cyrazer, Poppy, and Eclipse have held on through the mid-ground, low-ground layer changes that they've had to endure. They are still here, albeit not as many eliminations as we normally see them with. But again, they've closed the gap. They have now taken the lead by 3 points. How much more can they grab, though?
Trying to bust the top of that leaderboard right on open, trying to break through the glass ceiling. And they say, you guys spent all of this pre-show prep, all of the time talking about Epic Whale, Reet, and Arkham, and then Favs, Snacky, and Rex. What about us? Grand Royale, our time is now, and they are putting it to the test. They're showing how good they can work as a full trio. As Eclipse does end up going down, but Cyrazer and Poppy still up on their feet. We know Cyrazer has had incredible solo impact so far today, and Poppy has a decent amount in terms of utility to offer here. They do have a good layer, and Poppy is going to duck back into the zone, and they're going to opt to have some chug splashes. So there is potential here for Cyrazor to be able to get off a medkit if they end up working together. No, instead, they are just going to dip back, use the chug splashes to change the angle because they have no more builds. Poppy end up going down. He'll get dropped down. Cyrazor gets taken up as well, but that's another top 4 performance. They will be your current leaders, but the question is, who else can cause the shooping, push themselves into top 5? Godbro, Glace looking to do it right now as Godbro is trying to find the siphon at the right exact time. Will end up picking up the elimination, but that was not his knock. He needs a fish, he needs a knock, he needs something as he goes down. Second place is a 1v1. Nigel trying to find the opponent. He does have space in the zone, but doesn't have time to get the med kit, and he dances it out saying, sorry, not enough. Jay Mudio will take that one home, and that was a little bit of chaos there in match number 5. That was a tough ending, Clay.
It really was, but Nigel, even though they danced their way on out of it, their team had 13 eliminations in a second place. Mudio able to pick up that victory royale though for the team. And now our question is, with all of this chaos, with all of this, I have no other word other than chaos happening there, what's the leaderboard look like? We know first place is going over to Cyrazor, Puffy, and Eclipse. How much, like, lead-wise did they separate from third place as well? We know second place is set in that 170 right there. Who ended up hopping up into third place? There's so many questions that we can ask right now.
Yeah, and we're going to ask Zeke, Kelly, and Panda to answer them for us.
Friends, thank you so much. We've got all the answers. We'll take a look at the leaderboard as soon as we can. But yeah, I mean, remember, we're trying to set the stage going into tomorrow, right? Especially when double points are on the line. We have another 6 matches tomorrow. 1 left on the day. And you know, Kelly, Panda, with 1 game left, I mean, if it's me, I'm freaking out. I'm like, okay, we have 1 game left to really cement our lead today, or perhaps put ourselves in a really great spot for success tomorrow. How you guys feeling about this with 1 game left to go?
I do agree with that, obviously, with 1 game left, and that momentum, that snowball effect does have an impact on day number 2. But I also think that a lot of these teams that are kind of without that, like, you know, outside of the top 3 range are probably a little less nervous than they have been in previous FNCSs, because it's double points tomorrow. They can kind of VOD review what happened today, and change up their game plan, and it's not going to be as impactful as if the points were both the same for both days.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think what's going to happen here tomorrow, we're going to see breakout performances from teams that took the time tonight to educate themselves on what the mistakes they made today, what they could do better tomorrow, and then ultimately that's the teams that we'll see climb. That's also why we see Arkram and Co. usually do better on day 2s, despite the change up here from Rex to Reed. It still stands that they are a better day 2 team. But will it be enough? I mean, looking at this leaderboard, I gotta say, these teams are stepping up to the plate today.
Honestly, a little surprised to see Rex, Fav, and Snacky this close to Poffy, Cyrazor, and Eclipse. Only a 6-point difference right there. Obviously, they do have 2 VRs, but as far as consistency goes, it's Poffy's team without a doubt being able to play, making it to the end game pretty much every single time. And in fact, I think this was the first time that we saw them go down below 4th or 5th place. So the fact that this is one of, if not their worst game today, is a great telling of how they're going to be performing tomorrow. But of course, we do still have Arkram, Reed, and Epic Whales team in 3rd place, right below Rex, Favs, and Snacky, who's still holding out strong in 2nd. And I do want to give a shout out to Grim, Yumi, and Squishy. I constantly see them in our finals, and to see them up here in 4th place makes me really happy.
Yeah, you know what? It makes me happy too. It speaks to how great these teams are on West, and we're so excited to showcase them.
I love it. Let's take a look at our 2nd page here. I think the very interesting thing that I want to point out is, of course, that victory royale status. We already have 5 games, 1 left to go. And take a look. In the top 3, we have 4 of the 5 victory royales. Look at 18th place, Flix, Mudio, and Brian, right? They just got themselves that victory royale. Now, so let's take this into tomorrow's context, right? If this was double points, imagine how much higher they would be after that, right? So I love what you guys are kind of talking about and framing as like, today, yeah, it's single points. Tomorrow, you want to be bringing those performances, right? Hitting those double points will absolutely make a difference. Now, we only have a few minutes before we jump back on the battle bus. I'd love to focus in on Eclipse, Cyrazor, and Poppy, this standout team in 1st place as of right now. Friends, I don't know too much about this trio in particular, But my question would be, do you guys think they're a second day performing team? Right, we talk about this often. Some teams they do really well on day 1, but not day 2, and then other teams do the inverse, right? So how are we feeling about the performance today versus what it could be tomorrow?
So, although they did tie for first place with Rex's team getting 190 points, load session, the second half of their games was arguably incredibly weak compared to the first half of their games. They did get the final game in second place with 20 eliminations, and obviously this being a different format, that only means so much, but it did seem like they did slow down a little bit. However, that was with all the games, all 10 games being in one day. Now that they have a time to separate and kind of recuperate, I think that this is going to be their tournament.
Oh, big words, Kelly. Okay, I like this. We'll have to see. I'm down for a new champion overall in the region, so we'll see if that happens tomorrow. But for now, 1 game left in NA West. Buckle up, Fortnite fam. We're jumping into it.
5 down and 1 more to go before we head into the utter frenzy that is double point madness in day 2 of the Grand Royale. NA West has played very NA West-like. We've seen the top trios basically come out, do what we expected, pick up 2 victory royales in Rex, Snacks, in Fav's case, and then on the flip side of that, 1 for Epic Whale in Arkham. But honestly, Cyrazor, Coffee, and Eclipse pushing up towards the top have been the trio who have really surprised today as we swing on over to yet another steamy Stacks start here between Day and Wave. My name's Sundown, joined by Clay Stelling to take you home in this final match.
40-yard storm going to fall. Rich Homie Quinn going down very quickly. Dragon is going to take down Cool as well. Actually, no, that's going to be Astra Genshin from the other side. And just like that, seems like the fight is in their hands already. What an angle that they had there. Dragon able to hit the shots. Wave, though, does have shields. Doesn't really have the HP. The damage, as they see Dragon already pretty low. That's going to be the elimination. As I said it, Dragon and Astra Genshin may have just gone down here, but shields go over to Astra Genshin. Again, if they can stop any of these siphons from going through, they'll be good. But oh no, the phase through the ramp, the harpoon gonna be used. They don't have a shotgun. That's the next best thing. It does 75 guaranteed damage every single hit that you do. Genshin will back off for now. Which Really Quinn trying to give any comms if they can. Wave gonna stick it there. No, he said pros in fact do fake the revive there. I'm going to. That's going to be the elimination, not the siphon though. Astra Genshin needs to find Cool. She needs to stay up. They've got about 1 more second before Cool takes over. They do. That's the siphon they needed. That was their elim. How a true 1v1 remains.
And then Wave going to dip back over, make sure he at least gets the materials from his fallen comrade. Now we do have that 1v1, and Genshin doing his best to try and keep the pressure on. Wave has been able to disengage and not only find another big pot, but he will have priority positioning in terms of the number of materials at 22 to 5 because Genshin just trying to hit whatever he can, try and get some form of material here. But he was able to pick up at least one of the reboot cards, so you're going to see him try and create some space, and it looks like he's hunting around his teammates, giving a call that there's minis down there. Should be able to cop those. Instead, going to right over to the chest, another set of minis, and honestly, just a little bit of a weird fight as we swing on over. This is the Lacey Lake fight we were talking about. And Falconer, yeah, he definitely hasn't heard of closing the door. He opens that one, and we'll get taken down. Then we'll see Dragon going to work with that rare burst, just chilling up on the rooftop. So a lot of interesting fights here off of the drop.
And then we saw Astra Genshin, just no builds remaining. Was able to get Siphon there from which Homie Quinn and disengage. And again, what we mentioned last game. This is what we set up. If you're fighting in steamy stacks, it's one of those games of cat and mouse that goes on for a long time. Your enemy can just disengage like Astra Genshin is doing. They can go back if they want to. Wave baiting out those minis there. Realize that it's not going to be worth it there. Astra Genshin will go up, but again, it's all this back and forth game of just make them think you're leaving, land on top, and you're good to go. But Astra Genshin says, no, they're actually going to leave this time.
Are you sure?
Well, maybe.
there he goes.
No,
yeah.
okay.
was just about to say, I don't know, it might have been one more pump fake, but is going to opt to exit along that northern route where we've seen so many Steamy James opt to disengage. There is just more available loot over towards this area, available mats, but again, definitely playing from behind, going to try and grab the reboot van over here as well. Doesn't want to hit the central one. So it looks like both of these trios are just going to trade, getting everybody back up on their feet, and honestly, neither too worse for wear if they were able to get the double reboots coming through. It looks like that's going to be the case on one side. Will it be the case on the other?
Maybe. I get it, but it's just going to be Dragon. No,
there you go. Yeah, nice little delay on the second one coming through, but both trios back up to full strength, and we're at 87 players remaining.
So effectively, fight's been reset. A little bit more loot on the Steamy Stack side of things, but get this nice set of houses to loot for Dragon, Astra, and Astra Genshin. As we move over to Yumi, Squishy, chopping down the lighthouse here. Grim already taken down, not sure where. May have been at the Shark and they disengaged over here. Looks like that's the case. Some where they're coming from that, or they use that car to get away, but very interesting contention happening up here this far north.
Yeah, I believe we saw Grim get taken down right off the start in the elimination feed, but we do have plenty of room to move here. We see Yumi and Squishy trying to play some shots as the leaderboard flies in on the left-hand side. 51 points separating first and fifth. We're currently on board with our fifth place trio, but don't forget the points tomorrow are doubled. Yes, that is right, doubled. So the end of day results today, just by playing half of the matches, are a third of the available points going through. So if your favorite trio isn't doing so well, there is still plenty to play for. And don't forget, NA West has just under $400,000 in terms of prize money and the bragging rights, because regardless, we're going to have a new champion.
Whew. And they're going to have a lot of money in their pocket. They are going to be sitting really well after today, and then going into next year looking good. Again, duos will be very interesting to see. Again, I'm excited about that. Chopping away from trios, and it brings into question, right? Like, you have these powerful trios like Arkham, Epic Well, Rex, now Reed. Who's gonna be the duo of the trio? We have that tension there now, right? Because before it was okay. Now you've got to form a trio. Who's the trio going to be? But now it's like, okay, you do so well, who are you going to break up? Like, who is going to be the one that doesn't get to play with the other teammate they played for an entire year?
So, want to know how I deal with roster madness? I just don't. Right? There's
Yeah.
to me, like, everyone's like, oh, are you following the rumors behind who's playing with who? I'm like, I will wait until there are official tournaments and there's cash cups and dream hacks or whatever, and then I'll check in and see who is playing with who. Because as we all know, it doesn't matter each one of the regions, there's always a last minute shakeup. There's always one or two trios who you're like, huh, I didn't know they were playing together. And it was like, yeah, they decided it 12 and a half minutes before Q's went live. And it's like, well, that makes sense as to why I didn't know it. So I tend to just kind of don't when it comes to dealing with the roster madness, and wait and see where everything shakes out.
It's a fair point. I think we've been through roster madness so many times in competitive Fortnite that it's honestly the safest option. It's always fun to try to follow along and see new ways.
Fun is one word for it, that's for sure.
As we move over, look at Jorito. Oh, just a beautiful shot there onto Godfro. Had him in a cone, and when you have someone in their cone and they own the floor, you always have to edit that cone to follow him down, because it's almost a guaranteed elimination, because they're trying to get away from you 99% of the time. They're not trying to fight you in that moment. So if you just hit them with your shotgun, you're usually going to get that elim. As we get to go back over to Rex, Snacky, and Favs. Again, this is our second place trio. They're doing well. I'm going to point out the difference as we bring up the leaderboard. That's 49 points between second and third. While right now that's a big difference, tomorrow that's easily make-upable. But that lead for Arkham, Reed, and Epic Whale, if they really want to have a chance, they've got to cut into it big time here.
31 points, so not too bad, right? And then we end up looking at the fact that it's the double points going over. But if anything, like, I don't necessarily feel like that has benefited Epic, Whale, Reet, and Arkham, because so far from what I've seen today, they don't seem like the team who's going to have that really high elimination victory royale game so far. They're not playing for it. They're not getting on teams' walls early on. They're not trying to take advantage of what might be some of the trios who, in a straight up 50-50 fight, they probably win in more than 50-50 situations. They're not doing that at all today. This, in fact, like, this looks more passive than we saw them play when they had Rex on their team. And I did not anticipate that would be the route you would go. Like, if you're adding a player like Reet, I would have expected them to start taking some more of these mid-game fights, particularly in a circumstance where, I mean, if you look at the drop map and the teams who are dropping around them, they're minus Bony Burbs, like, all of those trios are pushable, right? Like, you could start flying and get going. Like, I have no problem with Reet taking a fight against any of those if Epic, Whale, and Arkham are close to support him, but that just hasn't been the case. It's grab as many fish and shields as we can, it's hop in a taxi, and then just drive around the island, which is fine. It's just, it feels different. You know what I mean?
I would agree. It doesn't feel like, because last season we saw we saw a tamer version of Reet, but it was still Reet. Right? He still had the pop-up potential. If they wanted to push someone, if Reet really wanted to push someone, they could, as long as the setup was there for it. It seems like right now, Reet's got the setup, but hasn't been able to get the execution there because Arkham and Epic Whale aren't used to that fast style. Right? They're not. They can play fast, but that's not always their game plan. That's not always their go-to. And that's why I think Rex is finding a little bit more success over there, is because Rex can adapt to many different playstyles and have over many different years. I mean, going back to Scented and Edgy here, they play differently than Arkham and Epic Whale do as well. So I think that's why you're finding more success there, because Rex doesn't have to play differently than he's played any other time before.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about, or at least Panda did a great job just showing the game plan that Fabs and Snacky have been able to execute on when it came to their FNCS victory, and how they spent the qualification weeks really learning how to take those mid-game fights, but then playing for consistency after the fact. And Rex, he slots into that brilliantly. Like, that is exactly the role that he was filling when it came to playing with Epic Whale and Arkham. Then that's why it kind of feels like Reet to me is trying to jam like a circle peg into a square hole. But we've all seen the meme, everything goes through the square hole. It's fine. You just got to turn it sideways, right? We're good. And that's Reet. He will be able to plug in. He'll be able to find success. But my question is, how much of that success, right? Because I don't think, I mean, going back to the baking analogy, I don't think they've put all the ingredients together for this to be a delicious dessert right now. This is kind of like the savory meat pie that weird uncle brings, where it's like, it's good. You're not sure if you should be eating it, but like, you can't kind of help yourself from having another taste. That's what this trio feels like to me right now.
It's a great description. Question is, can they turn it into that beautiful dessert over this game and the next 6 tomorrow? Will they be able to? Maybe. Again, they have the highest caliber of players there on their team, and while you can put them all together on a team, it doesn't always end up working out. So I'm excited to see how they adapt this game and the games tomorrow, because again, they are worth double points. I know we've said that, we hit it home, but again, it is very important that, you know, tomorrow the leads essentially are reset for some players, right? If they're that close, they're reset, they're non-existent. Because if you get a victory out tomorrow, it's no longer worth 30 points. Ooh, nice shot there by Yuumi with the charged shotgun. Is going to find Astra Genshin on the other side. There were 60 points tomorrow.
Keep an eye on the feed in the top left-hand corner. Epic Whale picking up an elimination. That's G5RC going down, and a good push from Yuumi. We talked about them, how they were 5th looking on the outside in and picking up those eliminations. As you said, if you can't be first, hey, as long as you're close after day number 1, there's everything to play for in day number 2. We swing on over to the trio who is underneath Storm Surge. They need to find some tags, so they need to go right now. 16 below isn't too much. They should be able to find the opportunity if they can get a bead on somebody, but it doesn't look like that bead is going to create itself. Mekton desperately looking around, but if they're the only ones under Storm Surge, there's no reason for anybody else to poke out. You can see Lush is about to end up taking over. You need to be careful in terms of now where you are putting your heals, because you don't want to take too much extra damage. Boom. And as I say that, Storm Surge will will turn off, and all three of them will be able to remain up on their feet. However, they know they need to look for damage now, as we also have our first placement threshold. 5 points going over to everyone as we have 24 trios remaining.
That's unfortunate. They used everything there just to stay up. They're in zone at the hill, but is it worth it with where you are, with the loot that you have? Yes, you're still in the game, so you have the opportunity to get points. So yes, in the grand scheme of it all, it is. But what more can you really do when you have a teammate not even at 100 effective HP? Another one as well as we move to Astra Day is that was, oh, what a beautiful shot there on the squishy. Epic Whale gonna find an Elim here in the backside of the zone in Lazy Lake, and that'll be great points going over to them. As we move over though, get to take a look once again at Eclipse, Coffee, and Razor, and they are set up so well. Interestingly enough, they haven't passed those big shields around. They're waiting a little bit, see if they take a little bit more damage. But oh, Sundown.
Talk about a horrible situation right there. Snacky, Favs, and Rex, they don't want to drop here. Again, we talked about getting the +5, but with no other eliminations up on the board, it looks like those are going to be the only points they get. They are trying to stick the revive on the Rex, but honestly, it looks like Storm Surge did its work here, as every single one of them is just completely eaten out of all of their resources. I mean, there is no shields on them. There is no white heals that we've seen in any of this inventory. Rex will get picked up on the backside of the zone. Yeah, look, there's just they've been chewed through. Every single one of their resources just absolutely gone. And I mean, we talk about, hey, you have to have playmaking ability, but this is, you have to one-shot somebody and then basically get the reset. And as I say that, though, if they're able to get the drop onto Nitrix right on the opposite side of this wall, they could make it happen. However, if he takes the time and he's able to get off the big shield and then get off any of the bandages that you can see on the opposite side, that's just not going to happen. Now a stiff breeze, a weird look, like on a menacing glare, like you don't have to touch these guys with much. They're just going to fall over.
And they can't even launch pad. A launch pad is them getting eliminated. There's no way they can safely take that. So they have to hop onto somebody, but it has to be a solo and they have to be low. There's so many conditions that need to be met right here for them to continue in this game. Launchpad placed down, everyone's gonna start to move. Maybe they go for it now and try to recycle with other players moving through, but again, they can't really take a lot of zone damage. They have a couple ticks here and there to mess around with, but 20 seconds remaining. They are staying right together as well. They don't want to move, and I'm very worried. I don't see the way out.
You can see they need to get the drop here on Rakatsuki and Aiden. Does look like they should recognize it's a duo directly in front of them. They should be able to just follow the path. Looks like they might opt to launch pad. Need to be careful about taking the zone damage because it is fourth closing, so this is 5 damage going through. We will see the Storm Surge running on the right hand. Don't have to worry about that. But like I said, man, a stiff breeze and one of those medium bullets, it doesn't matter how much damage fall off ends up coming through. But Pedovencha is going to turn that around as Epic Whale gets knocked himself. Snacky and Fabs trying to find a little bit of room, but Fabs will unfortunately get taken out there. And honestly, if he's able to get a revive, it's technically cost efficient, going from being 15 HP to 30 HP. So, I mean, I'll take it, but you are picking at straws here.
Yeah, I mean, that's the definition of min-maxing right there. But, oh, wait, Baka's actually someone they could go on to if they went up, but they go down instead. Baka pretty low. Fabs is going in. He's got the harpoon. He's trying to get involved. Kytrex going to be taken down pretty low as well. They're working well. Even though they have nothing to work with, that's going to be Fabs going down, though. Snacky tried to put up his best effort there. Wasn't able to do it. Play on the other side. I don't know if they saw them there. They're right above the editor there. Can only take a couple ticks of zone damage, and the zone didn't matter when the players are spraying at you there. That's looking, just look at how close they were on the Kytrex and company. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, if they'd been able to pick that up, that would have been absurd. I mean, we talk about just making something out of nothing, and Mekton, he's not going to be so happy about that. You can see that his day one is over. Headset comes off right away. None too happy as he gets picked up before those cascading placement points. We're going to swing on over. Current first place, second place is out. We saw that Epic Whale took some damage. I'll be interested to see whether or not he was able to get picked up or back on his feet, because if that's the case, then second and third are both down. Eclipse, Cyrazer, and Poffy could open up a very big lead and make that kind of double point day tomorrow a little bit less threatening. All of a sudden, if they put together 1 or 2 games off of the start of tomorrow, people could really be looking to catch. And right as I say that, it's going to be on Reet to make a solo effort. We saw Cyrazer do it as a solo from 21st all the way up to 4th. Can Reet answer as soon as he opens up even a little bit? Baka and Nitrix are going to put the pressure down on him. And one thing to note too is he doesn't have a ton of materials. Yeah, 88 is an okay amount, but like not a lot of metal, and the wood's not going to be too useful given the circumstance. So it's going to be a little bit more difficult to find some room. However, gets a great little path here, and I think if he's able to go up one more level, he should be able to be okay. Instead, opts go down on the ultimate low, a little bit more playmaking, but also completely out of metal now. Burned through about a little over a quarter of his builds. Will not find the elimination there. However, he gets all of the refresh and all of the metals.
And the chug splashes as well. While he didn't get that many materials from that situation, that is so big right there. 74 builds, back up to a good amount. Has zone pulling to them. Has 6 chug splashes, can play the zone. Has a good amount of shield as well. This is where Reet needs to be the Reet that we saw win last season. This needs to be where he makes the plays, because again, if he can just keep putting down points right now, he cuts into second place as lead and can even overtake them from where they were. 152 is what Reet has now. The last points though, we got to pay attention to around 170, I believe, there for Favs and company. I believe that's what they came into the game with. So that's what he's shooting for, 153. Again, cascading placement points going to come through. He 175. Thank you for that. Is what he's shooting for. These are going to keep updating beautifully there. Another point coming through, 154. Reed is going to go for the launch pad. Is he going to go? No! Too early though. He's going to get sprayed in the back. Those shots come through. He is fine. Launch pad will be good. He is going to make it into the tree and just try to heal up. Luckily for him, he's got the heals to do it. He's got the ability because of that little bit of a loot goblin that he pulled. He's still got a good amount of mats as well. Reed can do this right now. That could be a big elimination. That's first place right there.
Yeah, able to find a huge shot, and that's Cyrazer, the one who's been doing a big part of the work for his trio. Just absolutely obliterated, and then he falls down. He fell down. Pero Ventata ended up finding him, and he got the knock, and Reed is able to dip back into the zone, gets a legendary pump shotgun. However, he's out of chug splashes, trying to find anything that chili chug splash. Will the speed boost be enough? 43-33, and he's able to just barely get in by the hair on his chinny chin. 14 HP now, and a dream trying to get as many points as he can. But as we talked about, he's already pushed forward. Top 13, able to scrape together 4 additional points, but not sure it'll end up being enough, as Poffy though is by himself. So everybody in the top 3 potentially looking to drop down a little bit here, and the rest of the leaderboard could cause that shooting to happen in the final match on day 1. Everybody at the top, with the exception of Poffy right now, has been taken down. However, he's quickly racking up those points as trios continue to drop as we go 15 to 11 over the course of this rotation. Poffy looking for a little bit of sign. He gets the knock, gets the second. That was brilliant, but not going to be able to find the confirmation. He goes down in 10th, securing 1 more point. And up on the high ground, we got the Hispanic trio, Jelti, Pero Vincetta, and Krizix just raining shots down.
They're looking for that victory royale. Again, 30 points plus whatever elimination points they can grab would be such a good shoot there for them. If they can grab that, they're going to try to chop down second height as much as they can, trying to find any elimination. That's a player in a box with everybody else. It seems like one player down, not going to get that one. Wave going to pick up some eliminations. Chris as well. Jorito will find success there. 4 eliminations though. Up on the high ground, we hop down. Cool, Wave and Quinn trying to pick up so many eliminations. It is chaotic here on the low ground. They are running out of room though. It is going up a hill. Cool around the outside. Will they find the side jumps there? They do, but not enough HP. But Joey Quinn trying to do the same is barely going to be safe for now, but doesn't really have the option. to do much more than that. No, finds a little hole, finds a little bit of room, and will continue to keep going and continue to keep moving forward. But with effectively 46 HP, does not have time in the zone. One tick will take them down. They need to find elimination. Look at the high ground, though. It's Shelty and Krizix there, putting down the damage. Pool, unfortunately, will fall, but 7 eliminations. Again, it's all about right now cutting into the lead, cutting into what you can to try to set yourself up well for the double points tomorrow. And luckily, he had enough mats to catch him there. Everybody, I feel like on the edge of the seat, right? I mean, I was leading forward. Let's see what Quinn can do, though. Again, needs to try to keep cutting in. Unfortunately, everyone gonna drop on top of him. Does he have the shotgun damage? Can he do it? He tries to dodge it. No, not going to be able to do so. Puts a good amount of points up, though. But Jelty and Krizix look to secure the win. And look at how many elims they have on their other teammate. Only one between Krizix and Jelty, though.
Yeah, and I mean, Jelty is 2 floppers, 6 chili chug splashes. He feels like he should have this in terms of the heal off, but when you look at the actual raw amount of heals that he has there, it's only a little bit more than a med kit. It's about 6 seconds on top of a med kit going through there. If there's a double medkit on the low ground, they're in a 2v2, you don't have enough to end up closing this out. So it'll be interesting to see what they opt to do. Jelty is going to duck back up into the backside of the zone. Cesarski's going to go down to try and deny himself. Krizix will also go down, but he's denied the siphon away, and it's going to come into a straight heal off. And you have to think Jelty has the advantage in this regard, but he needs to be careful not taking damage. And as he does, he runs. He screams cowards as he sprints away from the fight, knowing he has enough heals to just outlast, secure the victory royale. A very tactical retreat on the way to a first place in match number 6 here. We'll see Benevincenta just layering down the shots. I mean, there was madness on the low ground as that slight change in verticality made the biggest amount of difference, but Trashy, unfortunately, gets outlasted by the Gamers 2 player of Jelty, and they will take home match number 6. And that's going to feel really good for them. That's 7 eliminations. That's a victory royale. 44 points right at the end when the top 3 all got taken down with, I think, roughly only like +9 was the maximum amount of points we saw from any of those. So going into day number 2, Clay, it honestly looks a little wide open here in the West.
I would agree. There's so many points up for grabs tomorrow. Again, it's double points. So what you saw today is going to be skyrocketed up in terms of points on the leaderboard. And speaking of that, that's going to be it for Sundown and myself for today. We'll be back tomorrow. We got to throw it over one last time to Zeke, Kelly, and Panda to break it all down.
Clay and Sundown, thank you guys so much for casting these 6 games of NA West. They were awesome. NA West has set the pace. We've seen the battlefield set as well. And now we have to start kind of changing our focus to the 6 games tomorrow in NA West. Double points. It's going to be absolutely insane. Now, before we say goodbye, there's a few things we've got to talk about. We got to talk about the leaderboards. And, of course, this last game going over to Jelty and Krizix. I mean, I love that Sundown and Clay kind of pointed this out of like, right? Because when you think about it, that's going to give them like momentum tomorrow, right? They're going to come in and be like, hey, we won that last game. We're good to go. We have 6 more ahead of us. Let's do this, right, Kelly?
Oh, anything is possible for tomorrow, and we saw pretty much a pretty strong lead for our first 2 teams here, but now that lead is starting to dissipate and go away. You can see, actually, yes, they are 21 points ahead of the rest of the competition. That is Poppy Sizer or Cyrazor and Eclipse right there doing a great job just staying consistent, but we kind of saw a bit of a slowdown in their momentum. You know, they were placing so well, getting 1st, 4th, and 2nd, and then getting 10th place in that last game right there, but the fact that they got 10th place and are still in 1st place by that many points is incredible. Speaking of slowing down, though, Rex, Favs, and Snacky having an incredible performance in the top or the first 4 games, never placing below 10th, but then the next 2 games they got 22nd place and 21st place. So I'm starting to get a little nervous for my pick right here, Panda.
Listen, it's not just you, right? Obviously, Arkham, Reed, Epic Whale also causing a little bit of nerves here because they haven't really picked up in stride, right? We saw last game, Arkham, Epic Whale both go down extremely early. Reed left by himself as a solo player to try to make something happen. But it's one of those things that it's tough. It's tough to predict one of these teams that we know to do extremely well season over season, or these players that do extremely well season over season, but now watch them struggle here in day number 1. But of course, obviously, we talked about it before. This is only 1/3 of the way through this competition, because tomorrow with the double points, It's like a whole different day. So it's going to be extremely exciting to dive into that. But we got to talk about some other players here. Again, it looks like Krizix, Jelty, and company, they're climbing. They get that VR, now find themselves in 11th place, and they set themselves up for a great day number 2. All they need is some consistency tomorrow, and some of these other teams not to perform as consistently, of course, and they walk away in a top 5, if not a top 3 spot for sure.
Oh, easily without a doubt. They have 120 points right now, which is only 35 points away from 3rd place, which is Arkham, Reet, and Epic Whale. And although they are fighting for 1st place, obviously the higher placement you get, the more money you want. So even if they're not able to get 1st place, making it all the way up the leaderboard is what we want to see. And I think that they are around 18th, 17th place after game 5. So to see them jump up to 11th place is good, but obviously they want to be even higher. And this is one of arguably the best teams that we have in the region. So to see them on this 2nd page, although I don't want to say is surprising, you know, I'm sure they are a little disappointed. They're going to be doing some VOD reviewing and seeing what they're going to do for game number 2. I already gave a shout out to the 4th place team, Grim, Yumi, and Squishy, but I actually want to give a shout out to another team, a team that I think doesn't give the recognition that they deserve, which is Quinn, Wave, and Cool. Constantly, they are always in our finals game, if not always in our top 10. So to see them in 5th place right now, doing a good job with their placements, not so much with the eliminations, I'm glad to see that. And here we have it. It is our 3rd page for the team. And I mean, Panda, to me, it's a bit of a surprise to see Flix, Mudio, and Lox with a victory royale all the way down in 21st place.
It just showcases how talented the top 10, top 15 are, because even though Flix & Co. have a victory royale, they're still not in the top 20. Which means that everybody above them are just showcasing that not only can they do well in one game, but they can do well in 6, at least well enough to stay in that top 20 situation. So really impressive overall. Honestly, from top to bottom, these teams have stepped up to the plate in a unique way. They've gone through qualifiers, they've made it here to the finals, and they have stepped up here in day number 1. But again, it comes down to day number 2, Zeke.
Day number 2. Remember, double points on the line. And don't forget, if someone is eliminated outside of those thresholds and they can't earn points, they're going to watch as literally everyone else around them is racking up double points. So tomorrow, I really do feel like things are going to be shaken up, right? 60 points for just the Victory Royale. Every elimination is worth 4 points. We are going to see some shakeups, friends, and I cannot wait for all of that. Before we do say goodbye, why don't we go ahead and take a look at our predictions? Am I still disqualified, production? Did Kelly hold the power and disqualify me? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Kelly, for being so kind and giving me back my pick. That's very kind of you. I could not be happier about this. Epic Whale, Arkham, and Reet is most of our picks. Kelly has got Rex, Snacky, and Favs, and both these teams are sitting in 2nd and 3rd, respectively, right? I mean, once again, Kelly, I think we've talked a lot about Epic Whale, Arkham, and Rex as a trio kind of in previous seasons, and they always do this, right? They end day 1 in top 5, and then they come back to win day 2. So I'm curious to kind of get your final thoughts here on day 2 for both of these trios, right? Now it's gone from 1 power trio to 2. How do you think this is going to fare coming in tomorrow?
So last season, season 8 was the first time, or I guess this season, but the last tournament we saw was the first time that we ever saw Arkham, Rex, and Epic Whale go below 10th place, I believe, and have a pretty poor performance. That's happened twice now today. They got 23rd in game number 1, and then in that last game was 13th place. So clearly this isn't the team that we normally see. With that being said, obviously Reet has replaced Rex, but on the opposite end, Rex, I think, is doing a perfect job now joining Favs and Snacky. I mean, obviously, Reet was that powerhouse, that incredible fragger, but we've seen now, I think, 2 or 3 games, Rex have 7, 8 eliminations while the rest of his team have 1 or 2. So I think if you're going to replace Reet with anyone, Rex was the best choice they could have gone with.
Yeah, honestly, I couldn't agree more. I think, and we kind of talked about it before in the intro to all of this, that Rex is the only one that I think you could swap Reet out for and then still be extremely successful in these games, which is why I think the swap works. But like I said, it all depends on how Rex shows up. This is the big defining factor, because again, like we saw in season 8 FNCS finals, he wasn't quite there in day number 1, costing them big, which resulted ultimately in them losing at the end of day number 2 and losing to Reet, Snacky, and Favs. But this seems like a different Rex, and I have belief that they have that potential to walk away on top. But we'll see, because Poffy and Co., man, they are looking really good. And if they even bring 75% of that energy they brought today to tomorrow, it's kind of a runaway for me.
I like to hear those words. We'll see tomorrow, though. Fortnite fam, that's it. Day 1 is done. It's crazy to think we had so many games today, but it's time to say goodbye. We're going to miss you guys so much, but don't forget, we're back tomorrow. As always, please give these 2 incredible humans a follow. Give Sundown, give Clay a follow as well. Without them, this just ain't possible. We love y'all so very dearly, and don't forget to come back tomorrow for double points and the conclusion of the Grand Royale. We'll see y'all on the battle bus.
Beep, beep.
little magic and crunch with a punch. Stays crispy and saliva till well after lunch. Also magic from your hoof until your breakfast spirit breaks. Everybody gets some unicorn flakes.
I cannot stop! Help me!
Hoof is a curse that must be obeyed. You can never escape what the rainbow has made. Summon breakfast power from the depths until the monster wakes. Everybody gets some unicorn flakes.
Take of my hoof! Feel my power! My hoof cannot stop! Help me! Partake of my hoof! Cannot stop! Help me! Help me! Feel my
Cheers, yummy rainbows with everyone he meets. They're crunchy and they're chewy and they're peanut eggs. Everybody gets some
play I've made for you. Isn't it horrible? My prize is in sight, you continue to fight. You're adorable. So adorable. Oh, so adorable. So adorable. There's nothing in this world to save. Don't try, your fight with seven is in vain.
every fucking time. Settle yourself. We hear you. We know. We got you. Stop. What are you looking for when you do that? I don't even get it. This thing's so fucking heavy. It's just like when I did chocolate, when I did your bags or I did stuff, it was always chocolate. All this candy, I'm looking and I'm like, this is fruity candy. happened to us splitting? So he goes, I only took a little bite. Said, look how cute it is. He goes, it's something Gaby will like. I think you didn't bite into it enough to get the pastry. That's your toy? That's your toy? That's yours? That's yours? That's your elephant? That's your buddy? Did I just put that from somebody? just know, like, so I have a cat that's for 14 years, and now he has a bad ear or whatever. He comes to visit me. He knows I'm cleaning that ear and cleaning his eyes, and he does it every morning. This one knows. He literally sits up. He sets himself like right here. He puts his face in my chest, and then I comb him. That's it. And she knows that every time we go outside, I brush her hair. That's what I try to get her into. But that's what I'm saying. She really used to it. But she used to. She doesn't. But I think I'm gonna shape up her face tomorrow. And then like the bottom of her feet, if you see that, like when I comb her out, it's so long that it has to be uncomfortable when she walks.